UK timeout on Radio Biafra, bringing new things from across the United Kingdom, enticing analysis by the People's Parliament. Our panels dissect the topic of the week, and listeners interact.
Also featuring great Biafran history, education, awareness, and enlightenment, plus entertainment galore.
Tune in to the UK timeout on Radio Biafra. Sundays from 7:30 p.m. Biafran time and British Summer Time. Set out for a fabulous week ahead with the UK timeout on Radio Biafra. News, views, previews and reviews. Join us.
America wonders, Mama woman, Nigeria stone, oh yeah, gravity, oh yeah, inside Nigeria, everywhere, Nigeria.
Good evening from here. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, where you are. Welcome to the UK timeout on Radio Biafra. My name is Ikechukwu Nice Nwokoro Ichie Mwachinemere, your host. Ichie Mwachinemere serves the indigenous people of Biafra in the capacity of the IPOB United Kingdom National Coordinator. I hail from Onitsha, Ezinihite, in Owerri Province, Biafra land. We start with a word of prayer in the language of heaven, Igbo. Chukwuka bịama pụrụ ime ihe niile eke kere ụwa, anyị bụ ụmụ gị, ụmụ IPOB nọ na mba United Kingdom agbakọkwa ọzọ taa, inye gị ekele anyị na ụmụnna anyị ndị niile nọ na mba dị iche iche, na ndị enyi Biafra, na ndị ihe ọma, eziokwu, ọganihu na atọ ụtọ, na-arịọ gị mgbaghara ụzọ ọbụla na-esi na mmehie gị, n'ihi na nke a dị anyị mkpa ka ịgbaghara anyị njọ anyị, dịka anyị na-ebulikwa ha nsọ gị elu, na-enye gị otuto n'ihe ọma niile nke ị na-emere anyị, ọbụla dị ndụ nke ị nyere anyị. Ikpeghị ka ndị zube, ndị iro anyị, ụmụ ekwensu, ndị ekworo, ndị anya ụfụ, ndị aghụghọ, ndị asị, ndị mpụ na aja mezuola ebe anyị nọ, mana ị na-alụrụ anyị ọgụ n'ihi na gị bụ mma agha anyị. Anyị na-ebuli ha nsọ gị elu, na-enye gị otuto na aja gị mma, n'ihi na ị kwesịrị. Taa ụbọchị ụka, ụbọchị nkwọ, n'ime ọnwa nke 4 n'afọ a, akpọkuo ndị eze ebube si gị biko gbatakwara anyị ọsọ enyemaka. A na-arịọ gị ka nkwọ kpọbatara anyị ihe ọma niile ndị nke ndị iro gbochie, n'ihi na aka apụghị ikpuchi igwe, aka ekpuchi ọnwa. Nkwọ kwọpụtara anyị ihe ọma niile zoro ezo n'ime mmụọ ma n'elu ahụ, ka ha pụta ìhè, ka ọnwa anyị wee zuo oke, ka anyị wee nye gị otuto pụrụ iche. Nkwọ a kwọpụtakwara anyị onye ndu anyị, nwa gị nwoke Maazị Nnamdi Kanu, si n'aka ụlọ ndị itere ebe ọ nọ wee pụta, dịka ya na onwe ya kwupụtara, dịka ozi anyị na-enweta na-ekwu na ọ sị na ya ga-apụta n'ime ọnwa, ka o mee ka o si wee kwuo, ka ọ gụrụ ka o si taa wee ree, ka nkwọ a kwọpụtara anyị Nnamdi Kanu n'ime ọnwa a. Nnakwa anyị oge eze ebube, ka nkwọ a kpọgburu anyị ndị ajọ mmadụ, ndị anya akpa egbe ozu, ndị aghụghọ, ndị na-ata na-abụ anyị n'anya ebe anyị na-ata na-abụ ha n'obi, ndị anyị mere ha ọma, ha were ihe ọjọọ na-akwụ anyị ụgwọ ma ọ were na-achịkwa anyị ụgwọ. Ka nkwọ a kpọgburu anyị ha, ndị Ikeneche nwee nchegharị n'ime ha, ndị si na ala Biafra agaghị adị, ụmụ Biafra agaghị ebi ndụ, nkwọ a kpọgbuo ha. Meere anyị karịa ọka anyị yọrọ gị, mana na-ekele n'ihi na o tosiri gị n'aha nwa gị nwoke nke m kwenyere na ya Yeshua HaMashiach. Ise 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 ise. Aga m aja ya mma si n'ebighị ebi, ebighị ebi ruo ebighị ebi. Aga m aja ya mma si n'ebighị ebi, ebighị ebi ruo ebi. Anyị ga-aja gị mma si n'ebighị ebi, ebighị ebi ruo ebighị ebi. Anyị ga-aja gị mma si n'ebighị ebi, ebighị ebi ruo ebighị ebi. Our news base is back in the regular full force. After that, we go into the discussion of the week, the topic of the week, which is understanding the command and control mantra, especially that of IPOB. I have a distinguished panel of Ezigbo Chineke here in the studios with me tonight to dissect it and explain the ramifications of understanding command and control. Stay tuned.
As the war of extermination of Biafra was going on, many made a pledge, saying, we shall never ever become Nigeria. We shall never ever become Nigeria. Today you turn around preaching one, Nigeria. Today you turn around preaching one, Nigeria. You betray your children, you betray your family, you betray your family, you betray your nation, you betray your own race.
Good evening, Biafrans and lovers of freedom. You welcome to this week UK Timeout on Radio Biafra. I'm Mazi CJ with Wada Oge. The deadline for the UK first quarter ESN fundraising has been extended to Good Friday, April 18th, 2025. The original deadline was last Monday, March 31st, but an extension has again become necessary to enable zones and individuals to make their contributions to the UK national accounts. This was disclosed in a release from the UK National Coordinator Chief Ikechukwu Zumokoro, who praised the family members who continue to support the gallant men and women of the ESN in the onerous task of keeping our farmland and generally our homeland safe. Chief Zumokoro reminded the UK family members that the UK had pledged a minimum €2,000 during the just concluded Italy National and Euro Get-Together/Emergency ESN fundraising, pointing out that our donation there is based on the anticipated first quarter collections. The UKNC thanked especially UK individual donors, including those who made generous contributions in Italy, reminding all to redeem their pledges. He disclosed that his humble self pledged €200, where Leeds/Bradford Zonal Coordinator Mazi Kanayo pledged €500, and the West Midlands Zonal Coordinator, who doubled as the Deputy Regional Coordinator Mazi Ikechi Moses Eze, pledged €100, amongst other powerful contributions from other UK delegations such as Woolwich Deputy Zonal Coordinator Ogechukwu and Leeds/Bradford Principal Officer Reverend Sister Ruela Wilu. The National Coordinator acknowledged some members who had contacted him in the last week requesting reminder of the UK national accounts detail to pay in the donations, maintaining that financing the ESN is a priority of not only IPOB members but all Biafrans, encouraging all to appeal to their friends and all lovers of freedom to assist us in this self-defense project. Still on ESN, the UK National Coordinator has equally hinted that the deadline of the second quarter ESN fundraising will coincide with our forthcoming AGM/Euro Mega Evangelism/Get Together in Luton on the 5th of July. All zones/regions will declare the donations on that spot to kickstart a continental fundraising. In the meantime, the UK NC has inaugurated a local organizing team for the Luton 2025 mega event, comprising the leadership of both the West Midland and the East Midland regional executives. The LOT, co-headed by regional coordinators Mazi Oster Henry Egumba and Mazi Chika Carlo, as well as the zonal coordinators of Luton and Mente Kings, Chief Lord K. Ibukwe and Sir Afonwa Okeje respectively, is holding their first meeting about now. Chief Nwokoro added a national organizing team will be set up in the next week to complement the efforts of the local team towards planning and organizing a hugely successful AGM/Euro mega evangelism get together. A save date announcement has now been circulated to the IPOB Europe and worldwide leadership to start their trip preparation in earnest.
Good evening. I am Wada Ogechukwu. The IPOB leadership has reiterated the importance of the IPOB agricultural revolution, urging Biafrans to go back to farming and other agricultural activities, as the IPOB leadership has revitalized large-scale farming this season and called on individuals to partner with the DOS to cultivate the acquired vast acres of arable land. The deputy head of Directorate of State, Mazi Chukwemeka Anthony Zurunike, revealed that the ESN had been fully mobilized to provide desirable security to our farmers this farming season, as they did in the last season. Mazi Zurunike, who has also stated that at the last week's Italy get-together, he said during his Radio Biafra broadcast last Thursday night, he renewed appeal for all Biafrans to support funding the ESN, adding that the IPOB leadership is seriously reconsidering lifting the ban on homeland ESN fundraising efforts to allow those who are able to and more desirous to contribute to donate periodically. Speaking on the same broadcast, the European rep Mazi Austin Abanim thanked the IPOB Europe family for their continued formidable support for the ESN, maintaining that Europe remains the financial backbone of the self-determination movement. Mazi Abanim also cautioned about the levity as the Marauding killer, the jihadists, reinforced to launch even more deadly attacks on Biafrans, pointing at recent incidents in Irani and other parts of Ebonyi, Edo and Enugu amongst others. The DOS member equally warned individuals misbehaving on social media, parading themselves as IPOB media warriors when in fact they are not, emphasizing that the wanton media saga orchestrated by some uncultured social media elements constitutes an embarrassment to the quest for Biafra restoration. Similarly, the IPOB UK National Coordinator Chief Ikechukwu Nwokoro has urged all UK family to desist from online assaults on one another, insisting that persistent offenders will face disciplinary actions. Chief Nwokoro stated that members should remain firm in their focus on strategic media campaigns and presentations that would attract support for the cause, maintaining that we are all exhibit decorum in the cyberspace, reporting concerns to the relevant leadership hierarchy rather than resort to.
IPOB worldwide has condemned the killings of traveling northerners, specifically from the Hausa tribe in Edo State. In a statement issued by IPOB spokesman Comrade Emma Powerful, the jungle just estimated to some of the Hausa hunters transiting to Edo State is highly regrettable. The statement urged Southerners to understand that Hausas are not the problems facing the indigenous people of Nigeria. It emphasized that the indigenous Hausa people are harmless, hardworking and accommodating, in a contrast to the Fulani ethnic group. According to the statement, indigenous Hausa are being forced to flee their ancestral communities due to the marauding Fulani. IPOB, however, advised the southern brethren not to attack Hausa in the region but to treat them as victims of oppression. This statement further urged people to distinguish between Hausas and Fulanis, stating that the Hausas are the victims of subjugations and oppression at the hands of the Fulani ethnic minority group. The barbaric attack and the murder of civilians in Edo State must have been a result of ongoing bitterness and frustration stemming from unaddressed Fulani activities in the region. The statement read, "Furthermore, IPOB urging the Igbo in northern Nigeria to maintain heightened security awareness, adhere to the law, and be prepared to protect themselves against potential threats, or better still, leave the north and return to Biafra land, as Fulani will cope to more dastardly attack. Furthermore, the Igbo in Biafra land must also remain vigilant. Everyone must stay alert and be prepared for self-defense, since Nigeria government and its tribally biased security forces prioritize the lives of the Fulanis over those of the indigenous people." Recently, 14 suspects were arrested over the brutal killings of hunters from Kano State in Uromi, Esan, Edo State. The 14 accused person has been transferred to Abuja for further interrogation. Edo State Governor Monday Ubeholu confirmed.
IPOB has alerted the Arewa Consulting Forum that some of its leaders are among certain individuals who are inciting violent assaults on the Igbos and Christians to halt their intended attacks immediately. Intelligence reports pointed that some radical fundamentalist sects have organized violence on Igbo in the north due to the alleged killing of Hausa hunters in Edo State. IPOB advises native Hausas to exercise caution to avoid succumbing to the ethnic conflicts orchestrated by the very Fulanis who have been harming them and others. The former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has lambasted the Tinubu administration over failed security architecture, ongoing mass killings of Nigerians. Atiku accused the Tinubu-led government of allowing bloodshed to become routine, leaving Nigerians in the state of fear and hopelessness. Meanwhile, the former Deputy National Chairman of Atiku's People's Democratic Party, Chief Olabode George, agreeing with his party's presidential candidate, stated that Nigeria is staggering on the path of self-destruction, expressing concern that Nigerians no longer feel safe in their country. A human rights activist, Yele Shorere, last Wednesday accused the APC government of lying to Nigerians, debunking government officials' claims that Tinubu fled to France on a work visit, insisting that the president has gone for medical treatment, not a 2-week.
Latest reports from Onyendu legal team and family representatives who visited him this past week indicate that Martin Nadekano is confident that his bail conditions will be restored this month, effectively releasing him from the DSS dungeon. This was contained in a news report on the Phoenix browser website on Friday. Though Onyendu's court case resumed on March 28th, it was immediately adjourned to April 25th and May 6th for full hearing. However, it is widely believed there are overtones to secure Ahmadiyya freedom via a political solution. Nigeria has been severally advised to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who has been discharged and acquitted by an Abuja Federal Appeal Court on October 13, 2022, as he really has no case to answer given Nigeria government violated countless tricks by the way and manner they kidnapped Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya and extraordinary residential him. IPOB leadership and IPOB Homeland have remembered gallant family members and some ESN operatives in Abia State stormed the streets of Aba to exercise their rights to peaceful protests demanding unconditional release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but were quickly and briefly mowed down when the genderweight combined force of the DSS, army and police stormed the civil protest, shooting aside anything that moves, killing over 20 civilians on the spot. More than 50 others were seriously injured, with 35 of them dying later following fatal wounds they have sustained. Till date, over 20 more people are still missing.
Many have expressed disarray on unusual demand and response of quick justice by Amnesty International and Nigerian mainstream media in response to the killing of vague hunters who traveled all the way from the north to hunt fully armed in Orani, pointing out a compromised narrative on media to describe the armed Fulani with palatable word as hunters, with sophisticated weapons all the way from northern states. These have raised an eyebrow of selective justice, like the same way they branded Boko Haram terrorists as bandits. This swift response exposed disproportional justice on the killing of farmers who the media scarcely reports or demand for accountability, yet they were quick to respond this. Meanwhile, angry residents of Otupodome State have taken to the streets in the protest against the rising cases of killings and kidnappings in the area, describing it as constant reoccurrence, which causes undue panic and frenzy. When Jeremiah Oniniya, 54 years, from Usha community in Agatu, slumped and died after a false alarm was raised about an attack by suspected headers last Monday. The Director General of the DSS, Adiola Oluwatoshin Ajayi, summoned villagers to utilize their cultural communal life and collective efforts to curb the miscreants and charlatans together. He added that Nigerians shouldn't expect the army and police to protect them always, that citizens have to mobilize and engage in practical approach to defend against terrorism. He said it's only a tree that hears that they are about to cut him and he remains standing. The same thing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been saying and doing, yet he was dragged to be crucified.
The Movement for a Socialist Alternative, MSA, has placed ultimate responsibility on Nigerian ruling elites, accusing successive governments of failing to address the root causes of the country escalating security and economic crisis. A transporter in Ondo, Muhiri Adebayo, was abducted by armed bandits, with the assailants killing his son and injuring his wife during the attack at their residence in Owo on Wednesday, April 2nd. Elsewhere, notorious bandits kingpin Kachalabelu Tuji on April 1st killed 11 farmers in Lugutan, Asa in Sokoto State, for fun as part of his Salah celebration. A police officer from Kaduna State, Hadaina Hussein Dantaki, has threatened reprisal attacks on Southerners living in the northern Nigeria. Dantaki comments came in response to the killing of 16 Northerners in Uromi, Edo State. Last Tuesday, Dantaki, through a Facebook post, swore in the name of God that Northerners in the North must take actions against Southerners. He further warned that Southerners have forgotten that their families were living in the North, vowing that within 1 week, the Southerners shall see the results. IPOB has alerted the Arewa Consultative Forum that some of its leaders are among certain individuals who are inciting violent assaults on the Igbos and Christians to halt their intended attacks immediately. Intelligence reports point at some radical fundamentalist sects have organized violence on Igbo in the north, due to the alleged killings of Hausa hunters in Edo State. IPOB advises native Hausa to exercise caution to avoid succumbing to the ethnic conflicts orchestrated by the very Fulanis who have been harming them and others. In a related development, IPOB Middle East representative and ESN commander Maazị Chinasongoru has named one Chief Tony Chukwu from Iheme Mbano, a close ally of Governor Hope Uzodinma, as the mentor and proprietor of the deadly criminal gang terrorizing Osu Axis. Maazị Nworu, who revealed this on a live broadcast, said Chief Chukwu boys work in collaboration with Ekperima Mother Squad to kill many youths in those areas of Olu province. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has lambasted the Tinubu administration over failed security architecture, ongoing mass killings of Nigerians. Atiku accused the Tinubu-led government of allowing bloodshed to become routine in Nigeria. Meanwhile, former Deputy National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Chief Olabode George, agreeing with his party past presidential candidate, stated that Nigeria is staggering on the path of self-destruction, expressing concern that Nigerians no longer feel safe in their country of fears and hopelessness. Human rights activist Yere Sowore last Wednesday accused the APC government of lying to Nigerians, debunking government officials claim that Tinubu flew to France on a work visit, insisting that the president has gone for medical treatment, not a 2-week work visit.
Global human rights organization Amnesty International has condemned what it describes as the harassment and intimidation of prominent human rights lawyer Chidi Odinkanu by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. The global human rights body called on the Nigerian government to immediately cease actions against Odinkanu and uphold the independence of the legal profession. Amnesty International stressed that the right to freedom of expression is guaranteed under the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the African Charter on Human Rights and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, to which Nigeria is a state party. In another development, the UK Nursing and Midwifery Council (NMC) placed 1,238 Nigerian nurses under investigation, with another 717 facing disciplinary actions over allegations of exam fraud linked to an examination center based in Ibadan, Oyo State. According to a statement on Wednesday by the NMC, the total numbers of Nigerian nurses who are being investigated have been linked to the center known as Unique Test Center are now 1,955 people. And according to reports, the scandal emerged after the NMC identified irregularities in the computer-based CBT, which is a basic requirement for foreign trained nurses seeking UK registration. The US President Donald Trump has imposed a 10% minimum baseline tariff on all imports into the country, with many nations, including Nigeria, facing even higher rates. President Trump, who announced a long-anticipated raft of tariffs on Wednesday, termed the day Liberation Day, is stating that the policy will arouse trade imbalances between the US and other nations. The US President also introduced 2 types of tariffs. The first tariff imposes a 10% flat tax on every import entering the US. The second set is the reciprocal tariffs, which specifically target imports from 60 nations. Several African nations are affected by the reciprocal tariff, with Nigeria facing a 14% import duty, the second highest among West African countries after Cote d'Ivoire, which faces 24%. And that's the news beat this week.
Melo nwanne jire nwanne ya Edifo Melo onye ndu na-ebe anya na-achị anyị chetakwa na aka ya dị ọcha. He is innocent. Onye ndu Maazị Nnamdi Kanu, and as you heard in the news beat segment there, he has declared himself to be released in this month of April. And we all say, he say to that prophetic declaration and prophecy from the prophet of our time, Oyende Maazị Nnamdi Kanu. Remember, most of the things he has said himself, or rather his prophecy, has come to pass. So this one is another one that we are looking up to, that will come to pass by the special grace of Chukwuokike Abiyama. Good evening, welcome back to the UK Time Out on Radio Biafra. I'm your host, Ikechukwu Nwaokoro Ichie Nwachinemere, and you're welcome to the People's Parliament segment of our program. Today is going to be a unique one. Often we generously use the phrase command and control in freedom fighting settings. It is a mantra lavishly associated with liberation movements, especially with regard to the operational methodology of the movement's leadership. IPOB is no exception in this wise. We recite command and control in emphasizing the discipline the global Biafra restoration movement is rooted in. However, some people misconstrue this phrase. Their misunderstandings stem from the confusion they conceived in such voluntary organizations, as they perceive liberation movements to be, having to operate with command and control as a leadership style, if you like. They wonder how there should be command and control when individuals are not under any obligations to join such organizations or movements. In other words, it is voluntary, and they associate command and control with force. Consequently, command and control is a conundrum for some, as they struggle to fully comprehend its relevance, as well as scarcely appreciate its full import in achieving the objectives or set goals of the movement. Even well-learned and schooled persons are trapped in this confusion. Tonight, we shall unmask IPOB's command and control mantra to enable us come to grasp and to grips as well with the reality of our time. I have another distinguished panel with me in the studios and some others who will be joining us online tonight or from their locations. You are more than welcome to be part of it too by dialing into the number I will announce, our usual number, in a short while. But first thing first, let me welcome those who are already in the studios here with me. It's been a bit of a struggle to get hold of people tonight. For those who saw our usual or regular weekly flyers announcing the program, I'm sure you must have seen the names on there. My deputy, Dr. Nyeke Ekikwe, the IPOB UK Deputy National Coordinator, unfortunately is a bit under the weather last minute. He sent in his apologies. He's unable to join because he can barely speak. I'm sure he's listening, but sadly he's not able to get his words out to be able to speak on the program tonight as he normally does. Those who follow our program know that the deputy, Dr. Ekekwe, features every first Sunday of the month. So this is his, if you like, traditional slot on the show. But due to ill-health, he's unable to join us tonight. We wish him very speedy recovery, hoping that it's not something very serious. He will be back here on this program as soon as possible. Our Northwest Regional Coordinator, Maazwe Mike Majago, I'm just getting messages coming now, is also trapped in transit and is unable to connect from his location, his current location. But hopefully he will join us at some point. And I have in and out already our formidable Southeast Regional Coordinator, Ichie Okeobianyo, but I can't see him right here now. Again, I'm not very certain what the situation is with his location. But as I said, I had a couple of discussions with him just a few minutes ago, and even before then, prior, we were in a meeting, so he's definitely ready. I'm looking forward to this program tonight to make its contribution. As a very long-standing officer, principal officer of IPOB, one of the pioneers who should guide us into understanding command and control. Also, for the benefit of our listeners, it will be important to get incisive insights from people like Ichie Okeobianyo, Maazwe Majago, and of course, Dr. Ekekwe. But while we wait for them to join, I will keep the ball rolling, and of course, also today we will reverse the trend. Normally we allow the panelists kickstart things, discuss for about 45 minutes or an hour before we open the phone lines, but we might open the phone lines straight away. The numbers to call today are, if you're calling from the UK, you are best advised to ring direct on the number 0744-8183-132. I take that again, 074-481-83132. And if you are calling from outside of the United Kingdom, remember to put the country code +44, and that will be +44 744-8183-132. That is the sole number available right now because the other second number is engaged for this production tonight. So please call the numbers. Direct call is preferably if you're calling from within the UK, and if you're calling from outside of the United Kingdom, your best bet would be to call via WhatsApp, and then you can join us. We're discussing command and control mantra in IPOB, understanding it. What exactly does it mean? Let me kick it off by having a look at basic definition. Command as a noun, or in English language, could be an order, an instruction, a directive. It could also be control. I will come to that to see how command and control can be interchangeably used. It could be a dominion, power, or jurisdiction, or as well as authority within an autonomy. To put it in action word, like a verb, command will be to direct authoritatively, to issue orders or instructions or directives, as I said earlier on, or to have the right to rule, govern, or administer instructions and judgments upon another or others. This is the basic, usual, if you like, definition of command. For control, it will mean as a verb to exercise influence, either as a restraining influence or a directing influence, like a supervisory influence over someone or bodies or institutions, as well as over instruments on non or inanimate objects. Sometimes you talk about remote control of your electronic gadgets. What it does is to control the device or gadget remotely without contact. Control also could be to have the power to run something in an orderly manner, or to influence the direction of how that is actually run. So we put that together, you can decipher that command and control, as I said earlier on, which could be interchangeably used or applied, are complementary to one another. They are synonyms, which means they can be same word, but in the context of liberation movement, they are complementary. They go in hand in glove, or they are applied pari passu, meaning that they are almost like seismic twins. They are almost inseparable. In other words, there is no full command without control. And in exercising control, you have to have the authority, which is the command. Just to complete definition, I would take a look at mantra. Mantra could be a statement or a slogan, often repeated frequently. It could be a word or a sound or a phrase repeatedly applied to aid concentration or understanding, or for emphasis sake. In other words, is being said often and often as a reminder, so that you do not lose focus or concentration on what the goal is. There are several mantras in liberation movement, such as ours, IPOB, that we use. Last time on this program, when we were talking about positive proclamations and affirmations and declarations with Dr. Tina Eberechukwu from the US team and the pastor Frederick Moya from Denmark, as well as our High Chief, Bato Uchehara, our Deputy High Chief of Mezuribe, our new Deputy Regional Coordinator Southeast Region of the UK family. When we were discussing that particular topic, you could tell that a lot of the proclamations that we declare in IPOB are mantras of sorts. So having laid down the basic definition of command, control, mantra, this will guide us to understand what command and control means, literally or basically at least. My studio guests tonight and you, the listeners, great listeners, are all more than welcome to be part of this discussion further in, so that we have greater insight into command and control. As I said at the intro, it is something that confuses a lot of people. If we are honest with ourselves, sometimes we don't quite understand or comprehend them fully as to the actual context to which they apply to liberation movement. Sometimes there is this dichotomy in comprehension that we wonder why or how could a voluntary organization, because that's what IPOB is. Nobody's forcing you to be a member of IPOB. You are not under any compulsion or coercion to be a member of IPOB. Whereas every Biafran, we keep emphasizing, is an indigenous person of Biafra, which in acronym means IPOB. But every Biafran is not a member of IPOB, the global mass movement for the restoration of Biafra, as a movement or organization. And that membership is voluntary. People therefore confuse what they perceive as a voluntary organization, adopting command and control system or style of leadership or administration. Maybe another day also we'll look at different leadership styles and why liberation movements often adopt command and control. IPOB is not the first one, neither will it be the last. In fact, IPOB command and control, by the time we go into the dimensions, practical applications, and other things that happen in terms of command and control within the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, you could begin to understand and perhaps agree with me that IPOB's adaptation of command and control is rather very liberal. There are in the history or in the annals of liberation movements and resisting the urge to use the common word people use, struggle, not mine anymore. In the annals of such movement, there are very, very stringent command and control codes that several of such movements have applied. It is a small assignment that I would encourage anybody who's got his interest and time to do a little bit of research, and you will find out. Where discipline is almost totalitarian, completely absolute, no room at all for any, how do I describe it, deviation, contradiction, contention, or consternation. no room at all whatsoever. So in terms of talking about the dimensions of command and control, understanding command and control in a liberation movement, what principles to help us to understand the concept, then the practical application of command and control within the movement, how does it actually work? In IPOB, of course, we have the code of conduct, which stipulates the do's and don'ts, the acceptable behaviors that guide the movement, as well as also gives you an idea of the hierarchy or chain of command of the movement. At the very apex of the chain of command of IPOB is the supreme leader in the person of Mazin Namdekano and the Directorate of State, the DOS. For emphasis, for those who don't know or uninitiated in what we do, the supreme leader in Mazin Namdekano is a member of the Directorate of State as well. So that explains the organogram, and then you come down from the Directorate of State to the continental reps, who are also members of the Directorate of State. The continental reps are the leaders or heads of the operational day-to-day running of IPOB within the continent of their jurisdiction. For example, in Europe here, which is the continent, our continental rep is Maze Austin Abanyem, who is my direct boss. And then next to the continental reps is the national coordinators. National coordinators are the head or the leaders of the movement in the country of their jurisdiction or the nation. Don't forget that we define countries and nation. For some places like the United Kingdom, sometimes you hear the nations in the United Kingdom, 4 of them: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, that make up the United Kingdom. And United Kingdom is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Great Britain consists of England, Wales, and Scotland. Northern Ireland is not part of Great Britain. But when it comes to United Kingdom, then they are part of it. So you have, if you like, what you could describe as 4 countries within the nation, or 4 nations within the country. Very complicated and complex. But the whole of the United Kingdom has one national coordinator, which is currently my humble self. Then at the next to the national coordinators are the regional coordinators. I'm using Europe as a sample to explain the hierarchy or the organogram, and therefore the chain of command of IPOB. The regional coordinators are the leaders in their regions of jurisdiction, the regions that make up the nation. In the UK here, we have the Southeast region, which is the London area and all the other greater London metropolis, outskirts of London if you like. They make up the Southeast, including Brighton, which we have, I think, we zone to Southeast, technically. Then we have the Southwest, which is the other side of the geography, the opposite of the down south of London, where we get cities and counties like Bristol, Swindon, Southampton, Portsmouth, and all the other cities and counties, Berkshire and the rest of them down there. Then you come up to the Midlands, you have two regions within the Midlands. The East Midlands region, which covers my location, your Nottinghamshire, Leicestershire, Derbyshire, Lincolnshire, and the rest of them make up the East Midlands. And then you have West Midland region. Of course, Northamptonshire is part of this as well. You have West Midlands, which comprises all the way from Luton, Milton Keynes, to Birmingham, Coventry, Wolverhampton, and the rest of them. Then we go up to the north. We have three regions up the north of England: Northwest, Liverpool, Manchester, Greater Manchester, Preston, and the rest of it, Burton. And then you have the North Central, which is the Yorkshire region, Leeds, Bradford, Sheffield, and the other towns and cities within that jurisdiction. And of course, we have the Northeast, which is your Newcastle, the Teesside, Tyneside, Southampton, Middlesbrough, Hull, including Norwich. They are all part of our current Northeast region. And then we have Scotland as a region in itself. And presently we are establishing, inaugurating zones in Northern Ireland for the very first time in the UK. They will be temporarily part of the Scotland region until we grow them enough to become independent or stand-alone region of their own. Just as also we have Wales region. Unfortunately, it's been moribund for a while, but it will be revived very soon because we're in the season of revival as far as IPOB Europe and IPOB globally is concerned. So I've used this organigram to explain chain of command in IPOB, which also gives us an idea of jurisdiction. Remember, when we defined command, one of the synonyms is jurisdiction, areas of control of each hierarchy or each level or cadre in the hierarchy of the movement. In United Kingdom as a case study, or Europe if you like. So this explains how it runs, and then of course after the regions you go down to the zones. Here in the UK and Europe we have zones, we don't have units. But back homeland in Biafra land or even parts of Africa, you have zones and then you still have units. Because the zones could be the senatorial zone as they are structured in the zoo. And of course, you now have units which will make the list of the hierarchy if you like. But either of these are all leadership. And the command and control mantra spreads all the way through from top to bottom, and vice versa. One of the principles or tenets of command and control in layman's language or presentation is obey before complaint, or obey before you complain in layman's parlance. In other words, some people say obey the last command. Obedience, discipline is very, very fundamental as a principle for command and control. Part of what we wanted to look at today with my studio guests, I hope they'll join me, or if you phone in, is for us to look at past situation. How was it in the past with IPOB, command and control? How did the pioneer members of IPOB receive command and control, perceive it, and responded to it from inception? Was there always obedience to the chain of command to the last letter of the word? Were there instances of rebellion, insubordination, and other things that perhaps we had noted of late? And if they were, in any way, shape, or form, we would love to know what really happened and how such was handled or resolved. Then, in contrast, we were supposed to also look at, that's what I'm doing in a nutshell, then it's entirely up to you if you phone in, be my guest, and then you can chip in from your own experience. The present developments, what is happening, especially in the last 3.5, nearly 4 years, since Owindu Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was criminally kidnapped in Kenya and extraordinary rendition to the zoo, and is still being held in unlawful incarceration till date. What we have witnessed in that time, and a little bit before then, in comparison to the antecedents, what used to happen, or what was the case. A lot of my colleagues, national coordinators, because it seems national coordinators are just at the receiving end of any challenge to command and control. And in any business or walks of life, middle-level managers, or line managers if you like, often are the receiving end of the brunt of people, because sometimes you see some people want to have their grievances either against top management or top leadership of the organization or membership, and it all comes down to the middle management cadre or line managers to deal with. So we have the internal sabotage. This is one common thing that a lot of us, when we hold our meetings, national coordinators have really highlighted. We are people, members, sometimes even principal officers, deliberately orchestrate behaviors, unacceptable behaviors, I must confess, to frustrate the progress of plans, programs, and activities. Some present very challenging behavior, questioning even the unquestionable, challenging the authority of the leadership, undermining leadership, orchestrating and exhibiting disobedience to instructions, contentious and gregarious, nefarious activities within the movement, making and hiding under various excuses, failing in duties to perform their assigned duties, holding positions just in name without actually doing anything to live up to the billing of that position, and so many other things that negate the authority, the jurisdiction, the command, the control of the hierarchy. Let me see if I can invite Mazi Sam. You're here with me, Mazi. Please feel free to unmute to contribute if you have anything to chip in. Ichie Okobianyo is struggling to come in. He's sent a couple of messages, if I may relate to those messages. So if you may come in, Mazi, let me see if I can bring Ichie Okobianyo on. Mazi Sam, I hope I'm not taking you unawares, but I'm sure you understand this topic for today, given the background I've already laid. And why Mazi Sam chips in, I will take the numbers again. Dear listeners, you're listening to the UK Time Out on Radio Biafra today, on Nkwo Market Day, Sunday, the 6th of April in the year of our Lord, 2025. And our topic for tonight is understanding the command and control mantra of IPOB. You can join us in this discussion by dialing the numbers from the UK. You can call direct on 0744 8183 132. And if you are calling from out of the United Kingdom, you may dial best via WhatsApp on the same number, including the country code +44. Therefore, you reach us on +44 744 8183 132. We'll be more than glad to hear your perspective, your understanding of command and control.
Yes, Chief Nice will have a call on the line. Can you speak up, please, Mazi?
Yes.
Not too much, but while you're speaking up, what the KG headphone? Okay, I think it's
loud now.
Yes, go ahead, speak.
Because I have my report the security situation now. That they are about Uwere Road, especially between Ite and the Upper. That place now, Fulani Herdsmen Center. From there, going towards Anonahama Noya Muneke. That is what that is going Noya Muneke to Mokami. About the Hajis America. So people cannot go to farm anymore. People don't have animals or they're kind of chasing. Similar, when I several incidents, I'm on social media. Among that, about Uwere Road. I don't know that our governor, I think he's on their paycheck. So because I have that sort of situation and then go back and make it on.
Okay, it sounds very much like the Pope. Is that the Pope?
Oh, the Pope, yes.
Oh, welcome to the UK Timers on Radio Biafra, the Pope.
Thank you very much.
Yes, is this the latest development? If I may ask, when did they first assume this position, this marauding jihadists?
This is latest development, and if you have been following social media, you find out that since beginning of this year, I think one incident was in February, another one we have in March, and we have another incident this March, just recent, and then a few weeks ago, a lot of kidnappings happening around that about Uwere Road. Sometimes they will block the road. Maybe they do kidnap people, it will stop transportation. And if nobody is doing anything, our governor is not doing anything, not even moving a finger on it.
Yes, we know that for sure.
Yeah, so this happen, broad daylight is happening.
Thank you very much, the Pope. We will escalate this. I will personally take it up with our hierarchy and in the command or chain of command, as I was explaining. This is very important. Those I saw, the clips you referred to on social media yesterday. And if our listeners can collaborate, that IPOB has issued a couple of press releases this past week, warning our people that this agenda has not stopped, that APC came with since 2015. They have intensified it. They are serious about their mission to annex our ancestral land, to take over our land, not just the farms. And this is the more reason why our people should be very, very security conscious and support the Eastern Security Network. This year, IPOB has relaunched the Agricultural Revolution program to ensure that our people go back to the farm and cultivate enough food to feed our population.
Chief Nice, just to add, I think communities, before they are waiting for ESN, they should get themselves drones. Drones, you can get good drones for 30-40 pounds to no location, so that people can save their life rather than combing the bush. Drone can do everything instantly.
There you go. Very, 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 very.
Before ESN can come on board, it's essential that every community in Biafra have acquires drones. It's a very simple thing to operate. You don't need to be combing the bush. You can fish them out before ESN can actually embark on such. Although, yes,
alert us.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, just like.
What I will do, if I get there, I think I'll hire some of these guys that have drones, the videographers that have drones. Probably I will hire them.
It is simple. But every community should have one.
Precision in your information. The ESN will have to act on precision information, not hearsay or guesswork, but that will endanger their own lives as well. If we know exactly where these people are operating, as Master Riley suggested, we use technology to fish them out, then the ESN will move in to smoke them out. We have our inquiry lines of the Directorate of State of the IPOB, which also we've been sharing on Radio Biafra so that communities can utilize it to work in collaboration with IPOB, support ESN. This is what our governors, as you rightly said, our government in the South is fair to do. And Nnamdi Kanu and the IPOB rose in December 2020 to set up ESN. Rather than support the last line of defense that our last hope our people have for security, they sabotage it. They blackmail IPOB. They blackmail ESN. They kill a lot of our gallant men and women who are doing this voluntary job of safeguarding our place. I mean, the governors kill them. We talked today in the news bit about Chief Tony Chukwu from Ehinembano that works closely with Hopo Zodinma. They are the people feeding fat on insecurity in our land, selling our people and our land to Fulani, using Asari Bekubo and his cohorts to import these Janjaweed jihadists. The most painful thing is that some of our people think is propaganda, that we are making it up. But here we go. Here today, the Pope, whose real name, if you don't mind me saying, is Engineer Stanley Amadi. He used to be the Secretary General of Obako Ndibo, United Kingdom of an Ireland, and currently a PRO of Ohanes in Ndibo, UK and Ireland. So he is somebody who knows what he's talking about as a community leader, reporting to us live on the UK Time Out of Radio Biafra about a current state of insecurity sprawling along Owerri-Aba Axis, precisely in Ngopala, where these Fulani Janjaweed militias have set up a camp, if not more than one camps. And we know what they do once they set up these camps. They start going into our, not just our bushes, into our villages to kill men, rape, and commit all manner of atrocities, kidnap for ransom, kill people and harvest their organs. So this is what we have brought onto ourselves with the so-called political leadership we have in our land. And when we are demanding for our autonomy, our sovereignty, our independence, so that we can reorganize our society, our God-given land, in the way that human beings govern nations, people think that we are joking or that we are making trouble. This is heartbreaking indeed. Thank you so much, the Pope, for calling in. We will take further action on this. I will personally escalate it to our leadership, to the right chain of command. As I was explaining, one of our continental reps in the person of Mazi Chinasaworu, who is the Middle East rep for IPOB, is the Commander General of the ESN. So we will be in touch with this information you have provided. Please DM me, the Pope, details, and also, as Master Sam suggested, our President Generals. What are you doing? Master Sam just said it. Drones you could get for like £40 or dollars, and you guys steal money on daily basis from public coffers. The governor steal and pass them on to some of these people, and you cannot even lift a finger to solve one problem, even the simplest problem. Shame on all of you. Shame to all of you who parade yourselves as politicians or community leaders back home that have no iota of interest of the people.
You're welcome, the Pope. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, the Pope. Thank you very much. We will have you on the program Sunday as well, so that we can discuss a little bit more what's going on in our communities. Thank you for calling in, my brother. Right, we also joined by Mazi Uzochukwu Okulonu, who is our coordinator, zonal coordinator in Teesside, and a very important member of our national media and IT team. Mazi Uzochukwu, you're most welcome. You can unmute and introduce yourself to our listeners and great Biafrans. I know you've been a little bit off. It's good to have you back. And if you have any contribution to this topic for tonight.
Hello, Biafra. Thank you, Mazi, for bringing me on to today's broadcast for the UK timeout. My name is Mazi Uzochukwu. Mazi Uzochukwu is a native of Umuahia South in Ulukoro. I'm very, very opportune to be here this evening to make a little contribution and to support the UK media team and the UK IPOB as a whole. Regarding the topic we have at hand, I think we talked about command and control. I will be chipping one or two things about command and control as time goes on, but just in the introduction for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Machinek and Ndewo. Welcome back. I know you were, as I said earlier on, you had a little bit break to sort out a few things. I hope all is well right now.
Yeah. All glory to Chukokike.
Yes, we are looking at, I've taken time to explain by way of definition the key words in command and control mantra as a phrase, and dissected them.
Perspective on it in terms of command and control before and command and control now. What has changed and the impact it had on IPOB so far.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, as you came in, I will just have to, just rephrase. Yeah, so I was saying that command and control has different era or phases in IPOB. There was the era of 2015 when our leader was first arrested by the Nigerian government, and due to the wrong interpretation and application of command and control, it caused some certain reshuffle in the leadership of IPOB, and we continued till 2016, 2017, and between 2019, 2020 or so, another phase started where it was within, between I don't want to call his name because it's not relevant at this moment. We know what happened then, and the reshufflement again took place. So for me, I would say that command and control in IPOB, I think currently, due to this new development in terms of the kidnap of a leader from Kenya, I would say that command and control also has its own implication that it played, and that was when it gave the leadership currently a kind of, I call it, less important presence. For example, the sit-at-home that was declared by IPOB leadership through Mazi Chinasa Nwodo, was something that should have been, allowed to go on, because the people welcomed it. They were all happy about it, genuinely from the bottom of their heart. But they got disappointed when it was withdrawn. And the enemy captured on that and decided to unleash mayhem on our land and on our people. And we've not fully recovered from that impact of command and control because of wrong interpretation and wrong application.
Yes,
So,
it's a good reference to make using sit-ups at home as a point of reference there of command and control.
yeah,
Not least because of the fact that, as I was explaining, the chain of command, or rather the hierarchy, at the top of the chain is the supreme leader, Oyenduma Nnamdi Kanu. Even though he is, or should I say was then, and still is, in unlawful incarceration, he remains the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. Next to the hierarchy is the Directorate of State. So you are very correct to say that the Directorate of State, which by definition of command and control or command, exercised authority, that's one of the key synonyms of command, jurisdiction, to institute that or declare or order. Again, these are words of defining commands being sit at home. But there was a counter order from the higher or rather above authority, which is the Olendu himself, that stopped it. Obviously, he had his disappointments or rather disappointing ramifications, which you rightly pointed out. But then it's still in line with the principles of command and control. Once the command or order has come from above, it has to control every other thing beneath or below it. Under command and control, as I said earlier on, there is no room for insubordination. There is no room for contention. There is no room for consternation, because automatically these things remain in discipline and in liberation movement, which is more like a quasi-military setup. It's almost capital punishment. So that only gave the counter order or directive from even within the illegal incarceration. The US was very correct in their wisdom and application to follow the order from above, because in layman's palace, before you join, I explain all this, command and control in layman's palace is obey before complaint. In military palace is called obey the last command. In other words, the command from above yours. And that should not only even start and end with Oyendu. It also means the Directorate of State gives an order. Every other person below it follows that. The Continental Rest gives within the area of jurisdiction. Others below it follow that. The national coordinators give within their jurisdiction. Others below it follow that. That is for command and control in practical terms stipulate. Any other thing contrary is out of it. So yes, that reference is very, very key. And that brought me to the question I asked you when the line froze, that people often see command and control as another synonym for authoritarian or totalitarian leadership style. Do you agree?
that is out of the area I was coming to, because when it is abused, then that is what it is. Command and control is a form of leadership. And to control something means to give something direction, to give something a point of focus. Then command to me is you motivating, encouraging them to do what they need to do in order to excel and to succeed in the mission, because we have a common goal to achieve. So anything that is outside this for me is not command and control, is just a form of being selfish and power hungry, and that can lead to destruction, and it can cause serious chaos within an organization.
Even under authoritarian or totalitarian system of governance or leadership style, I think the aim or the objective of an administration remains the same. What it does mean is that it doesn't give too much room for debate, if you like, for opposition, but it doesn't shift the goal precisely. Because one thing I also want to emphasize is that some people think that once they hear the word authoritarian or even dictatorship, they think it's one-man band or one-man show, no? Even in dictatorship, which, like a military junta, is the easiest example of dictatorship. Even if you are an elementary government exam, if you ask the question, that is the basic reference you can always come up with. But even in a military junta, you see here of what they call the Supreme Military Council, which is still a body of no less than 17 people, when I remember during the time of Babangida or Abacha. So it is not just one person. You have the different chiefs of army staff, chief of navy staff, chief of air staff, chief of defense staff, chief of that, and so many other people, and other people, including a few civilians too, as part of that Supreme Military Council, as the upper secretaries or whatever the administrative secretaries or support network. So even in that regard, it's not a one-man band, but what they do is that they close up the room for too much deliberation, opposition, and everything in life has its own pros and cons. It has the advantage. One of the advantages it has is that actions are swifter, they are more decisive, they are more target-oriented. In fact, they achieve more in some cases. An example is Gaddafi in Libya. He wasn't a democratic government, but today, since he's dead, people are calling for his ghost to come back, because there's been no better government than his till date, not just in Libya, in most part of Africa. So, command and control definitely has an advantage. And as I said from the beginning of this program, I did my research very well. You cannot operate a liberation movement leaving it to laissez-faire or making it a people's parliament or House of Common debate. You will not achieve your freedom in 10,000 years to come. So, command and control definitely is there, but as you rightly pointed out, it has to be applied sensibly and reasonably, which is partly what in fact not partly, holistically what IPOB does. I made reference to a few liberation movements using Sierra Leone, Liberia, the ones that are closer to home that we know. If we're using our own Biafra during 67 to 70 as reference, none of them is as democratic or quasi-democratic as IPOB are, to be honest with you. Yes. I mean, you're a principal officer. The amount of meetings we hold in IPOB, I can only speak for myself since I became the national coordinator, it's uncountable. It's over 100 now. National meetings, team meetings, regional meetings, this level of meeting, that level of meeting. These are all meetings are consultations. They are consultative forums. Otherwise, what's the point? Then we have a lot of forums even online. We sync people's ideas, opinions, even in this program we are doing now. You're part of the UK media and IT team. We meet. We used to meet every week, isn't it? And then we now moved it a little bit because it was becoming too demanding to bi-weekly. And then gradually, but we regularly meet. And similarly, several other groups within IPOB meet often, so very often. And then, as national coordinator, hold one-on-one meetings almost every day with no fewer than 5 different people or groups every single day. So all those are consultations. But then you still have to take action. So that's where command and control comes in. That command now, which is an order, but like you rightly said, when applied sensibly, will be a photosynthesis of the whole process of the consultation. All the advice received, all the consultations and meditations, reflections and everything will produce the action. And then the order, and once that order comes out, of course it may not please everybody because not everybody knows the process that led to the order. It may not pass, but not the whole. And then they pick from where they know and they think, oh, why didn't it go this way, that go that way, that way. In command and control, the order has come, it has to be followed. Some people are gifted, they might have the time to explain to you. People like us who can talk for England might explain to you. But there are people who are not that, no, it's not a disrespect, it's not a bad thing. There are a few words they can't speak for long. So they can't explain all that to you anymore. But they have done their process and they have issued their order and it has to be obeyed. So sometimes people, I was saying earlier on, this is why some people misconstrue, oh, why has it got to be like this? That's the nature of the beast. That's the way it is. It is what it is. And also, when you are in a liberation movement, I think it's always important, like everything anybody does in life, to try to understand what you're going into before you even go into it. So once you're in it, yes, it's a learning process. We learn every day, everybody learns. Anybody that hasn't got capacity to learn every day, to be honest, is as good as dead because there's no point in their living. So we learn every day. But even as you're learning, you have to learn quick and move with it fast. You must have the basic, the rudimentary, the fundamental understanding of what it is you are in. And that's why we are doing this program, the UK Time Out on Radio Biafra, since we started. It's now 30 weeks of this production. Every week we try to bring out one aspect, one topic that is relevant to the achievement of our goal and dissect it. It's information, it's education, it's enlightenment, it's awareness, it's everything that is required to empower anybody in this great movement. So that's what we do here. And I must thank you, Mazi, because you're a great contributor behind the scene and right now as well, and others who have been part of this program. We hope that it's making the impact. I received a lot of goodwill messages for you guys from Italy, from delegates who came from all over Europe, appreciating what we are doing on this program. You may not know how many people are listening, but it's going wide and far. And every time we finish our program, we always try to share it for those who couldn't listen live to catch up later, and a lot of people are commending the work we are doing. All we need to do is to intensify it. And we are still struggling to connect with our Southeast Regional Coordinator, Mazi Ichioko Bianyo, who is one of our panelists tonight. Interestingly, Mazi Ozochukwu, all the 3 panelists who are on the bid to be on this program tonight starting with our Deputy National Coordinator, Dr. Nyeke Ekikwe, who is under the weather. Last minute, he came ill. To start, Northwest Regional Coordinator, Mazi Mike Majago, who is trapped in a situation in transit on traffic. Unfortunately, he's not been able to join. Ichi Okobianyo, who also has been trying his level best to connect. I don't really know what's going on. We may carry on. We have some more minutes, probably another 18 or 28 minutes to go. If he joins us, that would be great. If not, we are here. I'm here with Mazi Uzochukwu Ekulonu, our zonal coordinator in T-side, northeast of England, precisely, and a formidable member of our UK National Media and IT Innovation team. You can still join us, listeners, on this program tonight. We are discussing understanding command and control mantra in IPOB or any other liberation movement for that matter. The numbers to call are, if you're dialing from within the United Kingdom, I advise that you call direct on 0744 8183 132. But if you're ringing from outside of the UK, you're better off calling via WhatsApp. That is with the country code +44 744 8183 132. Our second number that ends in 032 as well on the flyers is unable to connect you tonight because of technical reasons. But if not, Mazi Uzochukwu will carry on. So the next thing I was looking at is how has this really, what you pointed out, people having different perspective now of command and control. Some people associate the command and control only with Oyendu as far as they are concerned. And I mentioned about those who are now in the camp I call until Oyendu comes out. And they don't obey any other thing, any other person except Oyendu. They have no contact with Oyendu, or even those who have direct contact with Oyendu. They believe what has been retailed to them as what Oyendu said or instructed from inside. They will pick and choose, of course, the one that suits them or serves their interest best, and ignores every other thing. But we also know that Oyendu says that any day he is not around or we look for him, we don't find him, what the Directorate of State, DOS, says is final. And that is very correct, perfectly correct, in line with the command and control chain of command structure of IPOB. So how do you look at people who are saying until Oyendu comes out? People who have shown insubordination to the leadership. People who have continuously, refused to obey the orders of the DOS. Still claiming to be part of IPOB, which is supposed to be under command and control. How do you reconcile this?
Okay, thank you, Mazi Mukuru. It's a pity that people, they listen with their emotions when our leader was out. When he was out, he said a lot of things. I think in one of his particular broadcasts, he said that this breed, the current DOS members that he has, he said he's sure of them. He can achieve a lot with them. So, and another broadcast, he made a comment which he just rightly said now, of in his absence, the next person is what's his name again?
Mazi Chikedozie.
Thank you, Mazi Chikedozie, the head of next in line. You see, when they accepted to withdraw that seat at home, they were demonstrating to the people the meaning of loyalty, which is key for command and control to be successful. But the people saw it as weakness. They saw it as betrayal, and they said a lot of things because the enemy took advantage of it. So for me, our people still need education. You see, just like what we're doing with the Biafra now, we need to continue to educate our people for them to understand that in a global movement like IPOB, we don't just take actions. We are for what is called SAFCOM, like when we want to make an effective decision. You analyze the situation and you try to find out your aim of that situation. You also focus on what you want to achieve. You also make choices of the actions you need to take, and you also decide on the option that is best. And you still go back to monitor, and the purpose why you monitor is for you to revalue, to reassess, and to repeat the same cycle over again until you get the best way out of the situation. So our people are too emotional. They want it hot, but they don't have what it takes to sustain hot. So I will continue to say to our people, they need to listen more, analyze things more, and ask questions rather than disobeying and criticizing, because that is what the misunderstanding of command and control did to us. And today, sit at home, even though we came out and we said we no longer have sit at home, even when the Kano has said that should stop, yet sit at home is still going on in most places. In fact, it's like it has become a national day in every part of the southeast. So our people should have a second thought rather. They should have a second thought about how they follow instructions, and it is for their own good, because this current leadership, they are doing their best. I can tell you categorically that this present set of viewers, they are the best of the best. They are the best of the best because they've been strategic. They don't talk much, they talk less. And when they want to talk, they give the action they need to give. And if you are standing in the way, that is your own cup of tea. So they've applied command and control in a very fair way. They will give you warning. In some cases, people will not even give you warning at all, because before now, nobody will give you warning. You mess up, they kick you out immediately. But warnings may come in. They may set up committee to talk with you, know what the problem is, tell you what you need to do, and know that if you comply, fine. If you don't comply, then you give way. Because we've lost a lot of, men for this cause. And it's not something you have to joke with.
Absolutely, definitely. You're very correct. Giving instances of the warning or caution, I remember in particular some people parading themselves as IPOB media warriors. And I don't like to use that phrase, IPOB media warriors, to be honest, but it is what it is, and don't even recognize that phrase. So in that context, I respect it. But why I said I don't personally think is a very appropriate phrase, because ideally in liberation movement, all of us are supposed to be media warriors. Everybody in liberation movement is a warrior, a freedom fighter is a warrior. And in this 21st century, in this IT age, media, not the conventional media, even not this radio we are talking on now, or the conventional TV that most of us have experience of working in. But the new age media, which includes social media and other forms of media, multimedia, is just the tool to easy get to or go to, apparatus to work with. And it's fast-paced, in the sense that what you know today may not be relevant tomorrow, or may not amount to much tomorrow. So you have to keep up learning every time to be addressed. That fast-paced learning in itself is a war. So you're a warrior in that regard already. Some people, again, when we say, but war doesn't mean you are fighting with bullets and bombs and everything all the time. No. An evangelist is a warrior, isn't it? Anybody spreading the gospel of truth as we are doing is a warrior already.
Yeah.
So,
we call ourselves soldiers of Christ.
Every one of us is a media warrior. If you're in IPOB and you think there are some people whose title is media warrior, I think you need to go back to school, really, without being rude to you or disrespectful. But I'm just being blunt, because all of us are media warriors. So in that regard, you don't need to be a principal officer or with any form of decoration to be. And what some people are doing is not rocket science. Anybody can open a Facebook page, a social media handle, whatever. Anybody can broadcast. To be honest, it's now a question of how rich your content is, how appealing the presentation style, and the other razzmatazz that may attract you followership or not. But the fact that you can do it means you are usurper. So some people now made themselves demigod because they thought they have become a cult called IPOB media warrior. And some even thought within themselves, as you rightly said, in their pride or ego or selfishness, that they have now become above the leadership. Whereas in the hierarchy of IPOB, the fact you're a media warrior, whatever you call yourself, or you're in social media, you're popular, you're successful, we're happy for you, still places you under your unit coordinator. Two of us. So, but you now see people like that who are not even principal officers in their unit, in their zone, in their region, anywhere, challenging not just their unit coordinator, not just their zonal coordinator, which is wrong in itself, challenging their regional, national, continental reps, and even the highest body being the DOS. But as you rightly pointed out, the DOS was very patient. I give that to Maz Kike. Is very patient, to be honest. And allow these people latitude for repentance. We are in the season of forgiveness, which is the Lenten season, the season of repentance, penance, and every other reflection that comes with people changing and transforming their ways to better ways. But it's so sad that some of them still are unrepentant. Some of them are unteachable. They just will not take anything in. It's either their way or the highway. And they leech on to only do
just like what he was trying to say regarding those of our members or those set of people that are saying they will have to wait till the Kano comes out before they make contributions to support IPOB and ESN activity. Those that will also say that I can never take any orders from anybody except the Kano. You see, these are the rebellious spirits. These are the spirit of Jezebel, put in male and female fashion. And those are the people that make, they are, what I call them, disciples of anarchy. Because they will be using their own platform to talk against the leadership. Once you start doing that, you are demonizing the Kano. It's the same level of respect we should give to Mazi Chikedozie. There's the same level of respect we should accord to the officers in the DOS. Not only the Biafra program is on, you will see IPOB, Media Warrior, whatever, running their own personal program. Now you are depriving the people from learning from one source, because the information they are supposed to get from Radio Biafra, they won't get it, and they'll be listening to you, that your own message may not align with the goal and objectives of IPOB, and it is very dangerous. So, this whole thing about command and control has been abused, it has been bastardized, and some people feel too proud of themselves not to be humble enough, to take orders from those that are above them. Whether the person is junior is irrelevant. Whether the person is your senior is irrelevant. The most important thing is the goal of IPOB, the overall goal of IPOB should overshadow any other personal interest. And you cannot be obedient without first being humble, because humility is the key to obedience. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I was listening to you. Yeah, that's a valid point indeed. I think we're still struggling to get through to Ichoko Bianya. I don't know, he was trying to connect, and sometimes when these connectivity issues come and then person tries to ring you, I think it's affecting us as well. It keeps bringing up on my screen on hold. And then
I know what the problem is, even because of these new changes going on in Skype.
Yes, it's become an issue, to be honest. But I advise people who already have teams, which is what they're changing to, like try to have teams. It shouldn't be much of a problem, but I think you may have to log. I don't know, we need to find out how to smoothen it. But there's a deadline they gave, which is not yet due.
Next month.
Yes, I know, so there shouldn't be a problem until at least after the deadline. That's what I suppose. But anyway, then we are still here. Right, you're still listening to the UK Timeout on Radio Biafra, coming to you from the staples of the IPOB United Kingdom family. I'm your host, Ikechukwu Nwokoro Ichie Nwachinemere, the IPOB United Kingdom National Coordinator, anchoring this program. Many thanks to our Radio Biafra anchor, Maazi Chukwuemeka Alozie, who is so gracious to ensure that we reach you live, loud and clear, every Sunday from 7:30 p.m. UK time, which is exactly the same time now in Biafra land. And tonight, I'm joined by Maazi Uzochukwu Ekwulomu,
who is our zonal coordinator in Teesside. For those of you who are not familiar with England or the UK, Teesside is in northeast England, is the area that you call Sunderland, Middlesbrough, where they are brothers and sisters of Newcastle. So he's our anchorman there, and also a formidable member of our UK national media and IT innovation team, one of our very, very strong teams, one of the 11 national teams we have, as we're saying, here in the UK, from May 2022, we set up these national teams, 11 of them in number, with no fewer than 13 people in each national team, so we do the mass. That is a large consultative forum that advises on programs, plans, policies, and everything, and then they come to the UK cabinet. From there, I will filter them, if you like, and sometimes send some of them as recommendation to the leadership. If you don't understand, every now and again we are constantly meeting, I keep saying this, which is not very common with liberation movements. The amount of meetings IPOB holds, the amount of consultations in IPOB make it almost fully democratic. However, it is still a movement, an organization anchored on command and control. It has to derive the full benefits of command and control, which instills discipline and ensures quick decision making and action, because the battle we are into does not call for a laissez-faire attitude or too much House of Commons, House of Assembly dragging of feet and bureaucracy and red tapeism, because if you adopt those, you will never get your freedom in 10,000 years to come, quote me. So this is why the movement is anchored on command and control, which we defined at the beginning of this program what it is. And hopefully we share it. Some of our topics, for those who are new to the UK time out on the Biafra, periodically can be repeated or come in series. Some topics, depending on how we value them and also how you, the listeners, respond to them, we bring them back in series. We continue to do our best to look at the best interests of our people, what we add value to what we are doing to ensure that Biafra comes as quickly as possible in our lifetime. Masters of School, thank you very much for joining us. I think time is fast spent, and also because we have been struggling a little bit unusually tonight with technology, as you rightly pointed out there. It could be the platform we are using for our live broadcast, which is the Skype, transiting to Teams. So it could be one of those migration issues that you face in technology from time to time. Could also be other factors, but who knows? All we know is that as long as the Chukwu gives us his grace and mercy, we will continue to do what we are doing until Biafra comes. Even when Biafra comes, we will not step back, because we still need to hold tight to ensure that Biafra is the dream nation that we all long for. God forbid that we have a Biafra that will look in any way, shape or form like the zoo that we have lost so many lives, millions of lives, to extricate ourselves from. So it is our duty and responsibility as great Biafrans to continue to aspire to the highest standards, and also to continue to work assiduously for Biafra's restoration. I think that's the much we are going to take tonight. Mazi, I don't know whether you have any passing words to give before we sign off. Okay, thank you, Mazi Mokobo. Great Biafrans and lovers of freedom all over the world. I will encourage us especially IPOB members all over the world. We should do more of listening and analyzing, and also ask questions when you are in doubt of anything, so that you don't be part of those that will be promoting anarchy and disobedience within IPOB. And if we do things rightly, by the grace of Chukwuka, very soon, Biafra will be restored in our own time. And Chukwuka bless us all. You see? And thank you, thank you very much, sir. God bless you.
Thank you, Machineke. Yes, you actually nailed it there. As I said, we will be looking at having part 2 of this particular topic in the near future. But I do hope that tonight we've been able to at least excavate the true meaning and import of command and control in our quest for Biafra restoration under the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB platforms. As Mazi Ozochukwu rightly said, always engage with your leadership. Attend meetings in your zone, regional meetings, national meetings, team meetings. Try to be part of one of the 11 teams we have in the UK. Definitely and surely there must be a team where your time, talent, and treasure will be very much useful in serving Biafrans. Join that team. Don't think it's something to be left for others. As you join, be an active participant. Don't be passive. You learn every day. You also have a lot to offer to teach others. We learn from one another. It will be easier when you are in it than when you are out of it. And as you come to the meetings, come with open mind. Don't already be constricted in your thoughts and think that things must work in the way you would see. Be dynamic, be progressive, and be transformational. Be intentional as well in whatever you do in terms of your contribution to Biafra restoration. As we drive closer to Easter, our topics coming up in the next couple of weeks will be centering around reflections of the season we are into. Next Sunday, we will have a panel to look into our oath of allegiance again, and how it is relevant to the times we are in. Then the following Sunday will be Easter Sunday, when we will have as our special Easter edition special guest, our First Lady and wife of our leader, Doluche Chokukano, to relate redemption, which is what the Easter is about, with restoration. Watch out for the program flyers that details all these topics, and please do join us because you have a lot to learn from them. Until we come your way again next Sunday, from me, from here, is a very good night. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. No.
See you next week.
Yes, God bless.
Okay, sir.